J. Cole's The Fall Off is arguably the most anticipated album right now and has been getting a lot of buzz recently. Welcome back to the Voiceovers Podcast. I'm 24K Logan. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We got more content on the way. So, The Fall Off, as I stated, is probably the most anticipated album at this moment in time, especially for hip hop. It's been getting a lot of attention. J. Cole has been dropping a lot of teasers around it. He's been mentioning it in recent songs. But to get more of a glimpse of The Fall Off, we have to go back in time and revisit the beginning of the Fall Off era. So back in 2021, J. Cole made an Instagram post saying that I still got some goals I gotta check off before I scram. In other words, saying that he has some boxes that he still wants to check off before he makes his final bow in hip hop. And the picture showed what we know now as the Fall Off era. So it started off with J. Cole doing more features. Of course, it's no secret that 2014 Forest Hills Drive went triple platinum with no features. And early on in his career, J. Cole wasn't too big on doing features. And as of recently, he has been basically the feature king, if you will, doing features with rappers such as 21 Savage, Lil Baby. The list goes on and on. The next step of the Fall Off era was Revenge of the Dreamers 3. After that was The Off Season, his most recent studio album that of course came out in May of 2021. Next is It's a Boy. Now, this is the part of the Fall Off era that's kind of confusing for me and maybe even other Cole fans. And the reason why I say that is because we don't know if It's a Boy will be another studio album before the Fall Off, or if it'll just be a mixtape or some type of teaser and anticipation leading up into the Fall Off. Now, there's something else that we have to understand about this whole Fall Off era and what is yet to come. There has been recent debates as of lately as who is the greatest rapper today, who is the greatest active rapper today, who is the greatest rapper of the current generation. And the big three, of course, is Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole himself. Now, whether you believe J. Cole is number one, Kendrick is number one, or Drake is number one, there's always an argument or a debate about who is placed where. And for me personally, I would say J. Cole is number one. You can make a strong argument for Kendrick. You can also make a strong argument for Drake. All of these guys are unique in their own way. But to shift the focus back to J. Cole, I think that the Fall Off is very important as if to where we could put J. Cole in that big three. Like I said, I have him at number one in the big three. I also have him as a top 10 rapper of all time. And I even think that he can make a significant push into that top 5 rapper of all time conversation, depending on how great the Fall Off is, which I anticipate it to be very great. I anticipate it to even be the greatest rap album of this decade. I think there's many other diehard J. Cole fans out there that could say the same. Let's also look at some recent teasers that Cole has done with the Fall Off. So in First Person Shooter with Drake, of course, he said, "I'm naming the album The Fall Off. It's pretty ironic because it ain't no fall off for me." That was First Person Shooter. Then recently he dropped Might Delete Later, which is like another teaser to the Fall Off. He said, "The Fall Off is like Hove dropping Reasonable Doubt last." That was again in Might Delete Later. So there's been a lot of teasers and a lot of build up to the Fall Off, and I think for his place in hip hop, this album, as I said, could push him into that top 5 conversation because I already have him top 10 as a rapper. I have him top 10 rapper of all time or in the top 10 list. And I think that with the fall off, we can push him into a higher placement in that list, depending on the reception and how it's remembered in his catalog. There's been debates about whether J. Cole has a classic album, or if he does, how many classic albums does he have? Now, for me personally, I would say that 2014 Forest Hills Drive being his best album is a certified classic. I think you can make a strong argument for Born Sinner being a classic, and even For Your Eyes Only. And I think as time goes on, the off season will be considered a classic, because I already think that the off season is a top 3, maybe even the best rap album of this decade so far. Will J. Cole deliver another classic? I'm going to say absolutely. 100% J. Cole will deliver another classic. If we go through and look at his entire catalog, mixtapes included, we cannot point out a bad record. Now, some records might not be as strong as others. Some albums might not be good as other albums. But there's not a single bad album or bad mixtape in J. Cole's catalog. I think he has one of the most consistent and most solid catalogs in the history of hip hop. Even catalogs that are greater than some of the rappers that we consider all-time greats, which J. Cole is considered by many an all-time great, especially myself. How critical is this album to J. Cole's legacy? Well, I think that it's critical in terms of, with it being his final album, most likely, that it makes it that much more critical, because this is how he will be remembered. This will be his last bow. Now, we have heard rappers in the past tease that they're retiring, that this is their last album. Rappers like Jay-Z, and of course, he's dropped numerous projects after he had claimed that this would be his final album. But I think with the type of person that J. Cole is, being very low-key, he can be outgoing, but he likes to keep his separate life private from the music. And I just think that he's at a point now where he's starting to be more at peace with the things that he has provided to the culture, to hip-hop. And in his mind, once he drops this last and final studio album, this is it. I do think that J. Cole will make feature appearances here and there throughout the years, every once in a while. But as far as a full-length studio album, I do believe that The Fall Off will be the last bow for J. Cole. One thing that I do expect from The Fall Off is top-tier lyricism, as we have always gotten for J. Cole. I'm expecting some great but surprising features, and I'm expecting some very memorable and classic songs that will come for this album. Whether you're a huge J. Cole fan, or whether you're just a casual, general hip-hop fan, I think we all are anticipating The Fall Off. And I do think that it's very critical to J. Cole's career, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to make or break him. I think J. Cole has already cemented himself and cemented his legacy in the culture of music, especially for hip-hop. But once again, I do think that J. Cole will deliver us a classic. I do think that The Fall Off will be remembered as the greatest album in this decade, and it will be remembered for many, many years to come. That is my hot take and my biggest prediction for The Fall Off. We will have more content on the way about The Fall Off and about J. Cole in general. Please comment down below what your thoughts and your anticipations are for The Fall Off. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Once again, hit that subscribe button. We got more content on the way. And until next time, peace and love to everybody.